So, film criticism and critical frameworks, a presentation by me. So what is film criticism? Film criticism is where a film is analysed and evaluated. A film can have different meanings / understandings, helps us to get a deeper understanding of a film and its ideologies. Ideologies of a film can present problems like political issues, social problems, which will make an audience think about them. A film will use frameworks for this, and this is usually what is criticised within the film. This will also help the audience understand a different perspective. Frameworks. Frameworks are what make up a film. Every film has to have frameworks, doesn't matter which ones. There are many different types of frameworks, for example, semiotics or the film language. Whatever framework is in a film, it should be used with purpose. These can be criticised and can help add meaning to a scene. So first of all, we got voyeurism and the male gaze. What is voyeurism? A definition of voyeurism is the practice of gaining sexual pleasure from watching others when they are naked or engaged in sexual activity. And the word voyeur literally translates from French to the one who looks. People will also get pleasure from watching pain and distress with this voyeurism. The seamless editing of most films helps us as an audience become completely immersed within the film, which technically makes us a voyeur and helps us to see into another character's life. Even though a film has made great strides in being equal in a lot of Even though a film has made great strides in being equal, in a lot of films, the main character will still be a man, and with voyeurism, it can translate to the male gaze, which also is called, forgive me if it's wrong, socophilia. This was a term used by Sigmund Freud, and it is an aesthetic pleasure drawn from looking at an object or person, which is like voyeurism, and that's why I like linking these two together. The male gaze. Filmmaker and theorist Laura Mulvey first used the term the male gaze in a seminal in 1973. In a world ordered by sexual imbalance and pleasure has been... In a world ordered by sexual imbalance, pleasure in looking has been split between active male and passive female. This relates to the structure of society where some of the people still see women as stay-at-home and only there to support a man. Like this, some men still to this day see a woman as objects, and some only see them in a sense of sexual pleasure, and this is reflected in films everywhere. The difference between the two is that voyeurism can make the audience, voyeurism can make the audience, but the male gaze will make the men the watcher. So for my example, I've chosen Fast and Furious, the Fast Five. The scene's called A Woman's Job, and I'll show it in the next clip. This film heavily sexualized women, mostly with cars and how they act, but there's this one scene that highlights the male gaze very well. In this scene, Giselle and Han are tasked with getting a man's fingerprints. Giselle volunteers to get them, which leads her to strip down to a bikini and have a slow walk, showing men looking at her. This part can be seen as a power move for a woman. However, it is far from this, as the first thought is for Giselle to be half naked to get what she wants, and this scene is entitled A Woman's Job. Also, the camera cuts back to Han at multiple angles of Giselle's half-naked body, shown by him watching her as he has gone into a trance. Han also watches the man place his hands on Giselle's bottom, which shows the act of voyeurism within the scene. So, don't think it's going to play. Yeah, no, it's not going to play.
I think it will.
Oh, wait.
There you go. Give it a minute to load.
Yeah. Sorry, my internet's a bit rubbish. You can see their hands staring at her. And there's Hank committing the act of voyeurism. So there you go. Hank committing the act of voyeurism and the male gaze. So next is the uncanny. If you'd like to learn. So what is the uncanny? The definition of uncanny is strange or mysterious, especially in unsettling ways. In his paper, I'm not going to even try and pronounce that, Sigmund Freud talks about the uncanny, and in different essays he mentions it. It can come in many different forms. An example of this is the feeling of déjà vu. It feels quite similar to something you've already experienced, but it can make you uncomfortable and is very eerie. Freud explains the uncanny can change from person to person and will depend on the different senses. For example, of this, a noise could sound familiar but be very unsettling. It can be described as something that should be a secret that has come to light. In some films, it has been represented as the double. So what is meant by the double? Double refers to the same thing twice and will appear in different films and TV shows. It is mostly used in horrors and thrillers because of how unsettling it can be. However, it has been used in comedy films. As you can see at the bottom, it's used for comedy purposes within Alice in Wonderland. Two examples of the double is The Shining and Us. The double could reference the twins in both movies. Both sets of twins act the same and will talk in unison, which can be quite an uncomfortable feeling. In The Shining, there is a scene at the start explaining what happened to the previous caretaker, and obviously The Shining is that happening again, which could be another example of the double. Uncanny / the double in Us. You can see the representation of the uncanny and the double all the way through the film. The obvious one is the two families who look the same but have led different lives. The uncanny is represented when the doppelganger family arrives, where none of them can talk apart from the mother. Her voice is croaky and the silence of the family is quite eerie. There again, linking back to the senses and how that will make you feel. The uncanny is represented when we find out that everyone has a doppelganger and that should have been kept a secret, but has been brought to light. Another feature of that is that the families have features like them, but are different, like the daughter who uses her running for competition, but her doppelganger uses a skill of running to try and kill her, and how both of the sons wear masks, but for different reasons. The double imagery in the film is used quite a lot, like the 1111 is repeated. Another example of this is the owl in the mirror hall is repeated again. The scissors are two pieces that are screwed together. Also, the face that they want to use the scissors, also the fact that they want to use the scissors to cut their tether, like cutting a piece of string in two, representing double. And I wanted to use this to show the uncanny because she explains. So, as you can see there, she's comparing their two lives. They are the same, but obviously different things happened to them, which led them to be different people. So now we move on to Otter theory. The Otter origins. An auteur refers to a director that is viewed as a powerful creator within a film. Auteur theory came from France and appeared when the French movement of film came out, also known as the French New Wave. Directors started to become more adventurous with films, and it became more of an art form to them. And their tool was the camera stylo, which translates to the camera pen, as if they're using the camera to draw out a piece of art. As directors became more adventurous with filming, you could start to recognise their films just by how it was styled, and this still continues. Auteur development. In the 1960s, a man named Andrew Sarris came along and wrote an article which gave some structure to what auteur theory is. He gave some rules to help directors and creators become an auteur. An example of this is a great director has to at least be a good director. This basically means a director, to become an auteur, must have the main concepts of how to make a film. Not all people agree with these, like Pauline Kael, who fought against these rules and caused a public fight between her and Andrew Sarris. Because of this, people added more critiques to auteur theories, so different rules came about. In the 80s, auteurs made a comeback when feminist films started to come out, as this opened a whole new avenue to be creative and be more free within films. This brought to light that only male pronouns were used in Sarris's rules, and the fact that there are barely any auteur women, and still to this day, a lot of male auteurs are above female auteurs. And when I was actually researching auteur development, I looked at the top 10, and most of the first at least 5 were all men. So auteur theory today. Many well-known directors today support the Otter theory. Some of these include Tarantino, Ari Aster, Tim Burton. The directors have developed their own style, which makes each film they do more recognisable, and this is called an Otter signature. An example of this is Tim Burton with his use of colour in animation and his tall, stick-like characters. So now we move on to Jordan Peele's Otter signature. I know I've just used his film as an example, but I'm doing it again. In both Get Out and Us, the films start and end with a driving scene, and usually at the end there is some sort of reflection about the film. An example is in Us is the mother and the son staring at each other on the drive. Jordan Peele likes addressing political issues within his film about the post-racial America that actually does not exist. He also likes adding Easter eggs within his films, like the girl wearing a Michael Jackson t-shirt, and later on the doppelganger is seen wearing that one glove in reference to Michael Jackson. And I know the reason for that is because I think he didn't like the Thriller movie as well, the Thriller video. Jordan Peele also likes using weird songs that relate to the film. So I can't remember the name of the song, but in Get Out, that song has a set of lyrics which help relate to the film. And this is it here. And just before I finish, another thing that is his Otter signature is he likes using scenes that will at the start of the film, which will relate later on into the film. So as I've just skipped past, is how the guy that gets kidnapped and he's then sold to the family, and you can later on see why that links back to that. And I think that is it. Yeah, and that's my research documents.
Well,